Okay, how many times have you said, I'm just not a salesperson?
Oh, too many to count, right.
Right, but this book, Sales for Sales Haters, it's making me rethink that whole idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it turns out we're all kind of in sales, whether we like it or not.
absolutely. And that's the fascinating part of this book, right? It really flips the script on what we think sales is. It's
Totally.
not about being that, pushy, manipulative, slick.
Used car salesman.
Yeah, exactly.
I pictured that too when you sent me this.
Totally, totally. But it's really about understanding how persuasion helps us connect with people, advocate for our ideas, even achieve our goals. Big or small.
I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical at
Oh,
first,
I get it. I get it.
but then the book talks about how modern sales is about genuinely helping people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't get how being introverted or analytical is an advantage in sales.
Right.
It seems like the opposite of what a salesperson should be.
You're right. It really challenges those assumptions, and that's what's so cool about it. Think about it. If you're introverted, you're probably a great listener.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're analytical, you can help people find solutions that actually fit their need.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it.
These are strengths,
Not weaknesses.
especially these days, where authenticity matters.
Okay, so the book highlights these 5 core sales skills. Let's unpack them.
Okay.
First one is active listening.
Yes.
Seems pretty basic,
Yeah.
but there's got to be more to it than just hearing what someone says, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a huge difference between passively hearing and actively listening. Active listening is about being present in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
asking questions.
To clarify.
Exactly, to make sure you really understand what they're saying.
Got it.
The book gives this great example. Instead of asking, do you like this feature? Ask, what features are most appealing to you?
Okay, so you're putting the focus on them.
Exactly. And that small change shows that you're genuinely interested in them as an individual.
That makes a lot of sense. I can see how that builds trust,
Right.
which is important for anything, not just sales.
Absolutely. Any interaction, any relationship. And that leads us to the next skill, emotional intelligence, or EQ.
Okay, EQ.
So it's not just about managing your own emotions. It's about understanding how other people are feeling,
Yeah.
how to kind of read the room, sense the vibe.
Tailor your approach.
Exactly. It helps you build rapport, navigate those tough conversations, and adapt to different personalities.
Okay, makes sense why the book emphasizes that.
Sales is all about people.
Right, people business. Okay, what about ethical persuasion? Doesn't that sound like kind of contradictory?
Yeah, you would think, right? But persuasion can absolutely be ethical. It's about influencing decisions with integrity, no manipulation.
Okay.
The book really stresses transparency and honesty. Like, let's say a product is genuinely scarce, highlighting that encourages people to act, but you're not misleading them.
Right, it's the truth. Okay, so far we've got active listening, emotional intelligence, ethical persuasion. What's next?
Oh, this is a big one. Resilience. Even the most successful salespeople get rejected.
Of course. Doesn't just apply to sales either.
Right, we all face setbacks.
Yeah.
The author actually shares his own story in the book about how he heard no 9 times for every yes he got early in his career.
Wow.
Resilience is about turning that no into a not yet, learning from each experience and pushing forward.
So how do you cultivate that?
It's about developing a growth mindset, believing that you can learn and improve with effort, focusing on solutions, not dwelling on failures. And, the book gives techniques like positive self-talk, seeking support from mentors or colleagues to help you bounce back from those no's.
So it's not about, like, some magical talent.
No.
It's about inner strength.
Exactly, that inner strength. And that brings us to the final skill, problem solving.
Okay, problem solving.
In sales, this means becoming a trusted advisor, someone who focuses on delivering value, not just listing features, to really understanding what the client needs
Mm-hmm.
and then presenting solutions to those problems.
So it's almost like you're a consultant, not just a salesperson.
You got it. That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Because in today's world, people are looking for advisors they can trust, people who genuinely want to help them.
I can see that.
And these 5 core skills, when they all come together, they create a powerful approach that goes way beyond that stereotypical image of the salesperson.
That's fascinating. So are you saying that these skills apply even if you're not in a traditional sales role?
Absolutely.
Like, how do they help with, say, landing a job or negotiating a raise?
That's what's so cool about this book.
Okay.
It goes beyond the traditional sales setting
Yeah.
and applies these skills to those everyday scenarios, job interviews, personal relationships. It's all about communication, persuasion, and building those genuine connections.
Okay, I'm really interested to hear more about that.
We will definitely dive into all that.
All right, so we've got these 5 core sales skills: Active listening, emotional intelligence, ethical persuasion, resilience, problem solving. But how do they actually play out in those real-life situations? I'm ready to hear more.
Well, stay tuned because that's what we'll unpack in the next part of our deep dive. It's funny, picking up from those 5 core skills, the book takes this turn and applies them to everyday situations like landing a job or negotiating a raise.
Yeah, it blew my mind too.
Right.
Who knew those were sales pitches
Yeah.
in disguise?
Exactly. The book breaks down how a job interview is basically like selling your skills to a potential employer.
Right.
But it's not about being arrogant.
No.
Right? No, you don't want to come off like that.
Right.
It's more about presenting yourself in a way that highlights your value to the company.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Think of it like creating a value proposition.
Okay.
That's a term from the book.
Okay.
It means showcasing how your skills and your experience are going to help them solve problems and achieve their goals, just like you would with a product.
Instead of just listing off the accomplishments from your resume,
Right.
you're connecting them to what the company needs.
Exactly. And when it comes to negotiating a raise, it's kind of like selling your worth to your employer.
I never thought about it that way.
Have you ever thought about it that way?
No, not really.
I mean, I get nervous asking for more money.
Me too.
Yeah, who doesn't?
But the book gave me a new perspective.
Yeah, it reframes the conversation as a discussion about the value you bring to the table.
Okay.
You're presenting evidence like specific accomplishments or projects that you led.
Showing your worth.
Exactly, to prove why you deserve that raise.
Okay.
It takes the emotion out of it and makes it more objective and data-driven.
Okay, so the book is all about reframing these situations as opportunities to use our persuasive skills.
Right.
What about this concept of mirroring?
Oh, mirroring.
I've heard of it, but
Yeah.
I don't really know what it is.
It's fascinating. It's where you subtly reflect the other person's body language, their tone of voice, or even certain words they use.
Okay.
And it creates a sense of connection and rapport without them even realizing why.
Okay.
The book even cites research that mirroring can lead to more successful negotiations and stronger relationships.
So you're not like straight up copying them, right?
No. That's not what we're talking.
Okay, good.
That would be so weird.
Yeah.
It's about being subtle and genuine.
Okay.
The key is to pay attention to the other person's cues and naturally adapt your communication style to match theirs.
Okay, I see. I can see how that could be powerful, speaking their language.
Exactly. You're on the same wavelength.
Literally and figuratively.
Exactly. What other communication techniques does the book highlight?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Well, one that I found particularly helpful was paraphrasing.
Okay.
It might seem simple, but it can go a long way in building trust and understanding. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt like the other person wasn't really listening?
Ugh, all the time.
But it's so tough for you.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing helps avoid that
Okay.
because you're taking that time to really process what the other person is saying and then reflecting it back to them in your own word.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you're actively listening and trying to understand their perspective.
Okay.
The book gives examples like starting with phrases like, "What I hear you're saying is," or "It sounds like you're feeling."
It makes them feel heard.
Exactly. It validates their experience.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So it's not just about clarifying information. It's about showing empathy and building that connection.
Yeah, I could see that being helpful in any conversation.
Right?
Whether you're closing a deal or just having coffee with a friend.
It all ties back to that core skill of active listening.
Being present.
Exactly. Being present and engaged in the conversation.
Speaking of engagement, the book also talks about ethical persuasion techniques.
Yes.
We touched on this earlier.
I did.
What are some of the specific strategies it outlines?
Well, one that stood out to me is the principle of reciprocity.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed how people are more likely to agree to a request if they feel like they owe you something in return?
Now that you mention it, yeah, like if someone does me a favor, I'm more likely to help them out later.
Exactly. The book explains that it's like a deeply ingrained human behavior.
Interesting.
So in a sales context, this might involve offering something of value up front,
Okay.
like free advice or a helpful resource without any strings attached,
Okay.
just to be helpful.
Right.
By doing so, you build goodwill and create that sense of obligation that can make it more likely for the person to say yes to your request later on.
So it's not bribing them or anything.
No. It's about genuinely being helpful.
Establishing yourself as a resource.
Exactly.
What other ethical persuasion techniques does the book discuss?
One that's often misunderstood is creating a sense of urgency.
Okay.
Now, it's important to do this ethically without resorting to pressure tactics or false deadlines.
Right, of course.
The book emphasizes transparency and honesty.
So how do you create urgency without being manipulative?
It's about highlighting genuine scarcity or time sensitivity.
Okay.
For example, instead of saying, this offer won't last forever, which can feel pushy, you might say, we only have a limited number of these in stock, or this special pricing is only available until Friday.
Okay, so it's still creating that urgency.
Yes.
But it's based on facts.
Exactly. And it gives the customer a legitimate reason to act sooner rather than later.
Okay, that's a helpful distinction. I'm noticing a theme here with all these techniques: mirroring, paraphrasing, reciprocity, creating urgency.
Yeah.
It's not about tricking anyone.
Right.
It's about building authentic connections and creating win-win situations.
That's what makes modern sales so much more effective and fulfilling.
Yeah.
It's not about closing at all costs.
Right.
It's about building relationships, understanding needs, and offering solutions that genuinely help people.
Totally.
When you approach sales from that perspective, it becomes less about selling and more about problem solving and creating value.
I like that a lot better.
Don't you?
What about those people who still believe they're just not sales material?
Oh, yeah. The book addresses that whole natural-born salesperson myth.
Yeah.
It debunks it thoroughly.
Okay, good.
It dives into the science behind skill development and emphasizes that anyone can learn and improve their sales abilities
Okay.
with the right mindset and effort.
It's not about talent.
It's not about some innate talent. It's about practice, perseverance, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone.
So even if you're introverted
Yes.
or analytical,
Yes.
you can still excel in sales.
Absolutely. The book highlights the brain's neuroplasticity, meaning our brains can actually rewire themselves,
Wow.
form new connections, and develop new skills, regardless of our age or background.
So we're not stuck
You're not stuck.
with our personality.
No, you can change and adapt and learn new things.
I love that that's empowering.
It is one of the things I love most about this book.
Uh-huh.
It gives people permission to believe in themselves and their ability to succeed in something that they might have previously thought was beyond their reach.
It's about unlocking your potential,
Exactly.
not just in sales, but in life.
That's it. That's the message.
So the book is saying sales is a learned skill,
Yes.
not some magical talent.
It's a skill you can develop.
But what about ongoing development?
Yeah.
Once you've read the book and learned the techniques, how do you keep improving?
That's a great question. And the book addresses that too. It emphasizes the importance of continuous learning and development.
Okay.
It's not a one and done kind of thing.
Right.
The sales landscape is constantly evolving, so we need to be lifelong learners, always seeking to improve our skills and knowledge.
So what are some ways to do that?
It recommends a multifaceted approach.
Okay.
Of course, reading books and attending workshops is helpful, but it also encourages seeking out resources like online courses, industry conferences, and even joining peer learning groups.
So it's like creating a network.
Exactly, a network of support and knowledge sharing.
I like that.
And the book also emphasizes the importance of self-reflection and feedback.
Okay.
It's not just about learning new things, but also taking the time to analyze your own performance, identify areas for improvement, and be open to constructive criticism.
So having that growth mindset we talked about.
Exactly. Always striving to get better,
Always learn.
no matter what stage of your career you're in.
I'm noticing that this book is very practical.
It is one of the things I appreciate most about it.
Yeah.
It's not just about theory. It's about giving you actionable tips and strategies that you can implement immediately.
I like that.
Regardless of your experience level,
Mm-hmm.
it's packed with real-world examples and case studies
Oh, cool.
that make it easy to understand and apply the concepts.
Yeah, that's helpful.
It bridges the gap between theory and application, giving you the tools and confidence to put these skills into action in your own life. It's about empowering you to become a more persuasive, more influential, and ultimately more successful communicator.
This has been fascinating.
Hasn't it?
We've covered a lot from the 5 core sales skills to specific techniques like mirroring and paraphrasing, and now we're talking about ongoing development and the importance of a growth mindset.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And that's really just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, wow.
The book goes into even more depth on topics like building rapport, handling objections, and closing deals effectively.
Okay.
It's packed with valuable information that can help you level up your communication skills in all areas of your life.
I'm ready for more. This conversation has been so interesting, and it's completely changed how I think about sales and persuasion. I'm ready to dive into those more advanced techniques and see how I can use them to be a better communicator.
Well, stay tuned because that's exactly what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, so we've talked about those core skills, real-life applications, and even busted that natural-born salesperson myth.
Right, we've covered a lot of ground.
But now I'm curious about the actual, doing part. What does the book say about actually putting these ideas into practice?
Well, it gets really practical. There's a whole section called the 30-Day Sales Skills Accelerator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a roadmap
Okay.
to actually start developing these skills. But what's interesting is it doesn't jump right into techniques.
Really?
Yeah, week 1 is all about mindset.
Mindset. So before you even try anything, you got to work on yourself.
Exactly. It's about tackling those limiting beliefs, that voice in your head that says, I could never be good at sales.
Oh, yeah, we all have that voice.
We do. So week 1 is about cultivating that growth mindset, the belief that you can learn and improve even if you don't feel naturally salesy.
It makes sense. If you go in thinking you're going to fail, you probably will.
Right.
Yeah. So what comes after the mindset shift?
Week 2 dives into active listening. But it's not just a couple of exercises.
Ah.
The book encourages you to practice active listening in all your interactions, not just sales-related ones.
Wow. So it becomes like a habit.
A way of being.
I like that. But does the book stay that high level? Or does it get specific?
Oh, it gets tactical.
Okay, good.
Week 3 focuses on prospecting and initiating conversations, which can be scary
Oh, yeah, that's the worst.
for a lot of people, but the book breaks it down into manageable steps.
Okay.
Like figuring out your ideal customer, crafting those outreach messages, even practicing your elevator pitch.
So it holds your hand through that awkward first step.
Exactly. And then week 4, that's when it gets into the advanced skills.
Okay.
Following up, handling objections gracefully, negotiation strategies. Those are the techniques that can really, take you to the next level.
This 30-day plan sounds really thorough. Is that it? What happens after those 30 days?
The book really emphasizes that this is just the beginning. Mastering sales is a journey. It's not a destination. The world of sales is always changing.
Always changing, yeah.
So you have to be a lifelong learner, always looking for ways to sharpen your skills and adapt.
So you graduate from the 30-day program, and then it's like, okay, hit the books, go to conferences, maybe find a mentor,
Yeah.
keep learning.
Exactly. And the book even talks about going to industry events to network with other people in the field and stay up to date.
Yeah, build that community.
Right. And it also emphasizes self-reflection and feedback. It's not just about learning new things, but taking time to analyze your own performance, see where you can improve, and be open to constructive criticism.
So it all comes back to that growth mindset.
Exactly.
Always striving to be better. What strikes me is this theme of empowerment that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
The book isn't just about techniques. It's about giving people the confidence to reach their goals, whether it's in their career or personal life or even just feeling more comfortable in social situations.
That's the magic of it, isn't it? It's about realizing we all have this potential to be persuasive, to influence, to make things happen.
And doing it ethically.
Right, exactly.
When we start talking about this book, I was thinking about those pushy salespeople, but I see it so differently now.
I know, me too.
It's like persuasion is this basic human skill, and we can choose to use it ethically, intentionally.
I love that. That's beautifully put. And I think that's the key takeaway from this book. It's not about being a salesperson in that traditional sense, but understanding the power we have to connect with others, communicate our ideas, and create the lives we want.
So even if you're not in sales, this book is still relevant. It's about those essential life skills that help us navigate the world and achieve our goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I'm walking away from this conversation with a whole new perspective. If you're listening and this piqued your interest, I highly recommend checking out Sales Skills for Sales Haters. It might just change how you see the world.
It really might.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.